When you make fish, does it suck? Probably. But thankfully, we can learn from Alaska, the seafood capital of America. The sheer amount of fish exported from Alaska is astonishing, with cod, pollock, and crab just being a fraction of it. But today, I'm focusing on salmon, and more specifically, sockeye salmon. But before we get started, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more of my content. But for now, let's get cooking. And here we have our spread of ingredients. But first things first, we're going to start with our fish. What we have is a fillet of wild-caught sockeye salmon. Now, this piece is going to be a bit different than other salmon in that it doesn't have as much fat in it. That means it's going to be able to dry out and get real bad real fast. So what we're going to do to solve that, we're going to brine it. I'm going to cut this into roughly equal-sized pieces, then I'm going to spread it out just to make it look nice. Oh, look at that, so pretty. Mwah. The formula for a brine is quite simple. Per cup of water, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of salt. You're going to want enough water to cover your entire fish. So I use 2 cups of water. That means I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of salt. I also put 2 cloves of crushed garlic in there for taste. With all that done, I'm going to seal this up and I'm going to let this sit in the fridge for 30 minutes or overnight. So fun fact, raspberries are apparently everywhere in Alaska. Along with strawberries, they are ubiquitous to Alaskan food. So we're going to make
a raspberry sauce.
In a medium-sized bowl, you're going to add 200 grams of raspberries, 40 grams of white sugar, the zesting juice of 1 lemon, and 1/4 cup of white balsamic vinegar. After washing your raspberries, you're going to add them to a medium-sized bowl, and then we're going to crush them with a potato masher. Once you have your raspberry mush, you're going to add in your sugar. Stir in your fruit and sugar mixture until thoroughly incorporated, and let that sit at room temperature for 15 minutes. While that's sitting, let's zest and juice our lemon. With a grater, I'm just going to lightly zest my lemon until I get a beautiful pile of yellow sunshine. Next, we have to juice our lemon. Try to use a fine mesh strainer for this so that you can catch all the seeds. Once we have our lemon juice and the 15 minutes for the raspberries is up, we are finally ready to make the sauce. Add your raspberry mixture to a saucepan and bring it up to medium heat. Let that sit in the saucepan, occasionally stirring until it comes to a light boil. Once simmering, we're going to add our lemon zest, our lemon juice, and our balsamic vinegar. After this, we're going to whisk it until it becomes frothy. Once it's done that, add your butter. We're going to continue whisking this until the butter is completely melted. I'm going to give this a taste test just to make sure it's sweet enough. It was a little too tangy, so I added 2 more tablespoons of sugar and whisk that in. Give it another taste test just to make sure it's sweet enough, and oh, we are good. Next is very important. We are going to strain our sauce. There's a bunch of raspberry seeds in here, and I personally don't like having the seeds in there, so I'm just going to run it through a fine mesh sieve. Once you have all those seeds separated out, I'm going to add them to my trusty mason jar, and it's ready to go. Just store that in the fridge, and it'll keep for about 5 to 7 days. And now, let's look at a little bit of history of sockeye salmon in Alaska. Alaska was made a state in January of 1959. However, commercial fishing began long before that. Between 1865 and 1900, an average of 10 ships annually traveled from Alaska to the mainland. However, when canning became the practice for preserving fish during shipping, cod was replaced. The American public didn't like the taste of canned cod. There was a fish that consumers did enjoy canned, and that was salmon. This bit of history with canning is actually what motivated me to brine the salmon for the recipe today. And man, you won't believe how much of a difference it makes, but more about that later. By 1900, 85% of fish caught in Alaska were salmon. Today's fish, the sockeye salmon, finds its home in Bristol Bay, located right here on the southwestern part of Alaska. The annual catch in Bristol Bay can reach 30 million fish in just a few weeks, which makes this the site of the world's largest sockeye harvest. May 1st through July 31st is the official salmon run season, where thousands of people find work around the salmon run. This event yields 46% of the world's wild sockeye salmon supply. Imagine that, nearly half of the sockeye salmon exported around the world comes from one state within the span of 3 months. There is even a genre of videos called catch and cook, where Alaskan fishermen would catch their fish and then cook it as soon as possible. Yes, I know, you needed me to explain that. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. Pan-seared and grilled seems to be the most popular ways to prepare salmon. Maybe one day I'll make my way over to Alaska and try to catch and cook. But until then, this was only a glimpse into the importance of salmon to Alaska. Now, let's get back to the recipe. To pan-sear the fish, we're gonna need a cast iron skillet. Heat up your skillet to medium-high heat and add in 2 tablespoons of salted butter. Once your butter's melted, you're going to add in your salmon pieces, meat side down. Add in a couple of sprigs of thyme, and then we're going to spoon the butter on top of the flesh so that we start crisping up the skin. On the side of the fish here is where you can see the progress of the fish. You want the very bottom where the fish meets the pan to be a golden brown. Do not flip early. We want that golden crust to form. This took about 4 minutes for me. Then you can flip it over and cook for an additional 2 minutes or until the skin is the desired crispness. Once that's done, we're going to remove it from the heat and then we're going to plate it up. Add a fancy swoosh of sauce to your plate with an extra dollop of sauce right where your salmon's going to go. Then we're going to place our 2 pieces of salmon all properly with the knife. Going to drizzle a little bit more sauce on top, add a couple of sprigs of thyme, and then you have your beautiful meal right here. Truly a fish worthy of respect. Here we are, the taste test. Not only does this smell fantastic, it looks beautiful. I mean, look at this. The colors from the thyme, the sauce, and just the crispy brown from the salmon. It's just, it's fantastic. It's beautiful to look at. But enough with that. Let's eat it. If I were to illustrate what was going through my mind right now, it's like I'm a salmon. I'm just a little baby salmon just going through a clear and beautiful blue sea. And then boom! I'm a raspberry. The flavor of the fish and the tangy sweetness from the sauce along with the thyme just really makes something special, something really good. And just whenever I first started cooking fish, it was just sad, let me tell you. And I mean, I got better as I kept practicing with fish, but just from the studying that I've done for this recipe has leveled up my fish just so much. Like, this is really fantastic. This is something that I can eat multiple times and not get tired of it. So to sum it up, make this dish. Go make it. Why are you still here? What are you doing? Go make it and come and join me in the sea. If you like this video, make sure to show it by hitting that like button and subscribe to see more of my content. But until next time, see you later.